and as you mentioned, I have Sari Kimbell Consulting and Food Business Success. I've been helping packaged food business entrepreneurs for into 5 years now, or in my 5th year. And this topic is really near and dear to my heart. Before I worked for Whole Foods Market as a buyer and onboarding local producers and helping them get off the shelves in people's carts, I actually started my food business career at a farm, and I was selling wholesale into grocery stores and local restaurants in Colorado. I'm actually based in Colorado. But it was really about promoting hyper-local access to local food. I also stepped up to manage the farm's CSA program, Community Supported Agriculture, and grew that membership to 5,000 members before I left to go to Whole Foods. So it was a time, 2009, where books like Omnivore's Dilemma and Animal Vegetable Miracle and Food Inc. were all coming out. And there was this awakening around local food. And I do feel like there are some great similarities and ways that maybe there is a second awakening around local food. So I want to jump in and talk about 3 ways that you might want to consider getting involved with your brand, going into a hyper-local state of mind, maybe adding this to your sales channel mix, and ways of increasing your cash flow and also serving your community. So I like to call it the triple win when we talk about hyper-local. It really is a win around your, you as the producer, of course, bringing in sales, and you get the best margins with direct to consumer. And then of course your customer is winning because they're getting an amazing product and they love that extra value that they're getting of supporting a local business and getting a really great product. And then of course serving your community, keeping dollars inside the community. It just really, I think, is such a great cycle that reinforces itself. So I know sometimes I get some flack about, should you be selling this time? But I want to tell you that customers are hungry, pun intended, for your products. They want to support local businesses, and over 50% of food dollars went from eating out to now eating in. And so they're looking for other options. So I think this is a great strategy to consider. I know a lot of times, depending on where you are in your business, people start at a farmer's market and that may be where you're at. But a lot of times people have big goals to get on Amazon or to get into Whole Foods or those big grocery stores. But even if that's what your sights are set on, you may want to consider this hyper-local strategy, adding this into your mix, even if you want to go really big with brand. So let's talk about the opportunities. I really see three sales channels to look into. So the first one, of course, is farmers markets. And I'm going to give you an update on where things are at right now in the US in general, but I also educated myself on Boston area. Direct-to-consumer delivery models. We are seeing a ton of these start to emerge. Constraint is the mother of creativity. And so we're seeing a lot of great models coming out of this current time to get local food to the people. And then also looking at, not just having your sights on the big grocery stores, but maybe turning towards really supporting independent retailers in this time. All right, so let's talk about farmers markets first. So in most states, it's state driven, but farmers markets are considered essential. They are food related. Most of them are only going to allow food products. So obviously farmers, meat producers, and packaged food. So you're not going to see jewelry makers and candle makers and things like that there this year, most likely. It is not meant to be a social event. It is meant to be a food access point. So markets have to follow all the guidelines. They're implementing traffic control, distancing, of course, hand washing stations, masks, and big change that, you know, to turn some packaged food producers know sample, have an idea around that to share with you. I want you to consider that farmers markets are actually a really critical access point for low-income families, people on SNAP, or formerly, you know, food stamps. And the government has actually increased SNAP benefits by 40% during this time. So you can use, people can use SNAP dollars on all food products, not just raw fruits and vegetables. And a lot of farmers markets actually have matching programs that really even increase the power of their dollar. So farmers markets can actually be a great place for lower income families to find local food. So that might be something just to kind of keep in mind. What we're seeing across the country with farmers markets that are open right now is that while foot traffic is down, sales are way up. People are buying more. They want to support local businesses. So lots of reports about people selling out. People are more willing to buy products untasted. And they just have, there's that community piece about wanting to really support local businesses. A lot of markets we're seeing, and I should just mention, I actually own a farmer's market on top of all of the other things. So I'm very entrenched in the farmer's market world. But we are seeing farmers markets go to online, like virtual farmers markets where you can pre-order, or you can pre-order from specific vendors, and then they have your product ready to go. So they're even doing some car delivery, car drop-off, so you can prepay and make it a little safer for everyone. But there is kind of this thought of, like, even though it's not a social event, it is outdoors, and there is, it feels a little bit safer than going into the grocery store. And you know, the biggest question I get for packaged food producers is, you know, if I can't sample my product, and maybe a brand new brand, how am I going to get, you know, the word out to people? How am I going to actually have sales? And what I've been suggesting to people is that you actually partner up with a companion product and see if you can't grow awareness that way. So, for example, I have a compound butter client, and we were going to launch this year at the farmers markets, and they were really concerned that, like, you need to put the butter on a steak to have it, to try it, right, to sample it. So we're actually making little miniature, like mini samples of their butter, and we're working with local beef producers who come to the farmers market to then put a sample inside the customer's purchase with some marketing materials as a way for people to try it at home and then potentially come back and buy it online or find other access. So that might be something you consider. You can also do, a lot of markets are just doing a virtual farmers market option. So you don't necessarily have to go and stand for 4 hours. So that might be another option too. You'd still have to pay like all the fees and application fees and everything to just do the virtual market, but it might be a good option. So don't discount farmers markets. They are happening. People are excited to get out and be outside and support local producers. All right, so the next one is, we're seeing a lot of people wanting contactless delivery, right? Like Instacart just like blew up during this time, and all of a sudden we went from people being fairly unwilling to order groceries online. We like to go to grocery stores and pick out our products, to now people are being they have adopted it completely. And so we're seeing a lot of models where maybe they were already existing models or brand new pop-up models coming up. So this is one located in the Boston area, Market Today. They're an established system, but they are growing. And so it might be a place that you look at listing your products online. We're seeing food hubs that are expanding, they're aggregating more products. offering more deliveries, going to large, bigger zones of delivery. Also farms and CSA models, as farms try to replace food service dollars that they lost, that they are going, they're pivoting, they're adding delivery components, they're aggregating more products. Some other examples are like Market Mobile is typically, and that's in the Boston area, is typically a wholesale platform only, but they have opened that up to consumers. And so they're also doing delivery. And locally here for me in Colorado, same thing. We have a local distributor who's has allowed consumers now to order directly from their catalog and get case pack sizes of things and get them delivered. Last, but certainly not least, you might look into, it seems a little archaic, but old school, but milk delivery services might be another option to look at submitting your products to. We in Colorado, where I'm at, I know there are at least 2 that do actual like door milk delivery services, and they both offer a full catalog of other local products. So might be an interesting experiment to check that out and see if that might be an option. And then we're also seeing individual vendors like really get experimental and entrepreneurial. At my market is actually a winter farmers market, and I had to cancel the last 3 dates starting in March. And 2 of my producers actually basically started their own virtual farmers markets, and now it's grown. So we're seeing these kind of ad hoc food hubs, local delivery systems, pop-up virtual markets. So rather than being owned by an actual farmers market, this could be you starting your own virtual farmers market. So Alex and Christy started this NoCo farmers market. Now we actually have a new one, SoCo farmers market. And you see here, they're just Facebook groups, and they have over almost 8,000 members. SoCo has 46 members. There's definitely a lot to figure out, and they've had a lot of growing pains with 7,000 people interested, and they've found that they can only deliver and have pickup for about 250. But still, 250 deliveries and pickups a week is pretty awesome. And then Erica here has a bakery. She was doing some delivery to direct to consumer, but a lot of it was food service and farmers markets. So when I had to cancel the market, she basically opened up her website, her e-commerce website, to other producers and started adding their products to her normal delivery days. She's since evolved it to now the 100-mile market. And she had to hire a delivery driver. It is just blown up. Like I said, your community is looking for access to local food and they want it delivered. So these people are providing exactly what your community wants. Just phenomenal examples of vendors, producers just like yourselves who are leading the charge and kind of trying to figure it out. Not to say that there wouldn't be a lot of things to figure out, but it is doable. And then independent retailers. So I love this is from a market in Fort Collins called Beavers Market. It's from the 70s. But I put it here because I thought it was a great representation though, that I worked for Whole Foods Market for 4.5 years, and even pre-Amazon, at one point we were able to, in the early days, a vendor could drop off a sample and they, there could be like, yeah, let's put that on the shelf. Sure, bring me a piece. Not anymore, it doesn't work that way in large grocery, but with smaller independent retailers, they are able to be much more nimble. They're able to pivot. They're able to move product around, make shelf space. They want new products, and especially during this time where they might be getting shortages from other distributors, going in and you bringing in your product may be, exactly what they're looking for. So these are some examples, both in in the Boston area, as well as where I'm at in Colorado. But local retailers, it is part of their business model often to support other local producers. Like I said, they can pivot much quicker. They can bring in product much quicker. There's not category review scheduled and discontinue, they have to discontinue old items and have planograms and all of these things. So allowing the other thing that you can get ahead of is you bring in your product, you do the self-distribution, you stock product, like you're helping them. You want to make it really easy for markets to say yes, to give you a retail space. So I want you to think about with independent retailers, how can you provide value and a great return on investment for them? But they want to support you. It can be a great win-win. So definitely check in to local independent retailers. And if you don't already have relationships with them, start building those relationships. It could be a great sales channel for you right now. Okay, so to wrap up, why local matters. People, we are seeing breakdowns in our food supply, our food chain, so the local food system is becoming more and more important. And like I said at the beginning, I do think that there is a kind of a consumer reawakening about the importance of our local food system. It's not just the diehard farmers market people who have always supported it, but in the example with Erica with the 100 Mile Market, she's seen people who never attended the farmers market all of a sudden being really interested in local food. So it does definitely offer some certainty and security. It feels really good, right? It's like that win-win where I'm not just paying for a loaf of bread. My loaf of this money is going towards my community and a local producer. It builds that sense of community and, of course, supports our local economies, specifically you as a producer, to help you with your sales and your cash flow, so that you can turn around and grow. Buy more local inputs, hire more. It's really a great cycle. So I want to be sure I didn't go over my time. There is my contact information. I do have a YouTube channel as well with lots of great videos on topics all about starting and growing a packaged food business. So I'll leave that slide up. I'm probably right at time. So if you guys I'd love to take any questions that you have. And you can type it into the chat. I don't know if I'm seeing.
Yes, so
I think I'm just seeing you, Carol. I don't know if anybody's typed into the chat.
Yeah, we did get a question through the chat, but and I'll ask it in a bit. But for the rest of you, if you have any question, you are welcome to unmute yourself and ask it directly to Sari, or you can just send us your question via the chat and we can communicate it to Sari. One question that we have received is if you have any tips or recommendations on how to handle the direct-to-consumer or even online farmers markets logistics efficiently. I'm assuming with relation to labor and the last mile probably. So if you have any recommendations or tips about that, that would be great.
Right. Sure. Again, you may want to look at partnering up. A lot of farmers markets will let you share a booth with other vendors. You still have to pay the booth fee and, of course, a percentage of sales if they collect that. But that may be one way to help share the labor load of the actual day if you're going to go to a farmers market. And the same, I guess, could be true if you wanted to try to partner with a couple of vendors who are doing the virtual farmers market if you have to go and make deliveries, that morning or the night before, however they're working the virtual ones out, that you partner with some other people, kind of like a carpool parent pickup or something like that. So one person 1 week could go and, deliver a couple of other vendors. And you want to be careful. Like I have a bread client who makes like, what does she call them? They're like banana breads and things like that. So she's a little concerned about doing these virtual markets, these pop-up markets, because she doesn't want to just get like one order for banana and one order for apple cinnamon or whatever. Like that would be really inefficient for her to go in the kitchen and just make one-offs. So we've talked about, can she do some pre-baking, maybe par baking, and then have those in the freezer for those kind of things, and then finish baking them, wrap them, deliver them. So definitely want to think about some ways to increase your efficiency. It's going to be a little bit of this is all experimental for sure. But I think you need to work the system. You need to, do the social media, share the posts, put it out to your email list that you're doing this, like help the farmers markets, and they're trying to also help you in their promotion. So definitely like work the social media, the outreach piece to get people aware. And I still I'm like in love with the idea of partnering with companion products to have people get samples. I mean, great way to like surprise and delight customers by them receiving a sample of your product and then wanting to come back and support you at the market. So those are some ideas just off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Speaking of samples, sampling is such a big part of the farmers market experience. So are you seeing any brands getting creative on that front? Or do you have any guidance in this matter?
Sure. Well, your samples still need to be done in a commercial kitchen if you are under a commercial license. But you just want to think about, how can you, like, even if it's just those plastic ramekins with a lid that you get at like restaurants, that's a commercial container. So something like that would totally work. And maybe you get like a sticker that goes right on top and has your brand information and where to find you, recipe cards or things like that. But I think, going like talking to farmers or beef producers, we know that those are going to be probably the most shopped to get started, and then seeing if they would be willing to include your samples. Or you can also give out prepackaged samples that people take home, but there is no on-site opening and tasting and sampling. Farmers markets want to encourage you to, you shouldn't be there to be socializing, tasting food. It's like get in, get out, move along. So think about, those kind of things. You could even look at, I don't know, I mean, I guess even with smaller grocery stores, or the same with direct to consumer models, maybe, hey, I have these samples. Do you want to throw some in your other people's orders, and include, of course, some marketing materials. So that's my best suggestion right now with samples, because we are really limited. But offering free, I know that free is not free to you, but look at it as a way to increase return on value. Like everything you should be doing, you're doing right now should either be getting you sales or be getting you loyalty. And free stuff, of course, presented in the right way, could really gain you a lot of loyalty going forward. So when they see your product again, they're more apt to buy.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. So since sampling is not going to be an option, and once the farmers markets reopen, do you know what are the other COVID safety regulations that are going to be put in place once the farmers markets reopen? What are you seeing on that front, and how are farmers market preparing for the summer?
Right. Yeah. So I've been on a lot of calls with farmers market managers, and basically it's kind of what you're seeing right now, and probably in most grocery stores, that booths have to be 6 feet apart. Layouts are changing a little bit. So A lot of like farmers and things like that will have all the produce behind them on tables, and then out front they might just have like the show, you know, the demonstration pieces, so you can kind of see what they have, but that's not what they're giving you. And then of course employees should be wearing gloves, they should be sanitizing their hands, and then anytime you do a card purchase or anything like that, then they need to be wiping down the machine. Some of them will probably even eliminate cash, because we know, you know, a lot of places are discontinuing cash and only doing cards. And again, if you can pre-order, we're seeing a lot of that, so that you just go to the booth and say your name, and then they give you your bag and you're on your way. If your county or your state or whatever is requiring face masks, then that would definitely be required. All markets need to have hand washing stations, and so there've been some grants and things like that to help with that added expense. I think what else? I think that's the main things. Just oh, and traffic control. So you might see markets more fenced off with like a one-way in and a one-way out, to keep people going in the same direction and not, you know, crossing over and crossing past. So those are the main things that we're seeing, but just how to like streamline and get people in and out a little bit quicker.
Thank you so much, Sari. We're at time, but
Great.
that was thank you very much for your presentation. It was very insightful. If you have any further questions, please send us an email at info@branchfood.com, and we'll put you in touch with Sari. Alternatively, you can reach out to her directly at sari@sarikimbell.com. Thank you all for joining and tuning in. We'll be back next week at the same time on Wednesday and Thursday, and we're going to cover how to leverage R&D for food startup funding in times of COVID. And we'll also be hosting a special session with Boston Public Market Association, and go over how they're supporting small New England businesses through and post COVID-19. And for those of you out there who are interested in farmers markets or outdoor markets in Boston, this is probably a session that would interest you. So please join us and spread the word. As a reminder, you can register and rewatch all of our sessions on branchfood.com/servingupsupport, and you can find them as well on our YouTube channel. And please don't forget to subscribe. For any feedback, please reach us at info@branchfood.com. Thank you all for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great rest of your week and of your day. And thanks again, Sari, for everything and for
You're absolutely welcome. Yeah. Thanks.
Goodbye
for having me.